Any idea how long it's going to take?
I think it's taking just a minute or 2 minutes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, Gauravji, Acharya is here with us. We can start now.
Sure. Thank you. Hello, everyone. I would like to welcome you all on behalf of IIT Delhi Alumni Association. My name is Gaurav Goyal, class of 2009, Aravali Hostel, IIT Delhi. I am currently convener of Aarogyam Healthcare Initiative of IIT Delhi Alumni Association. IIT Delhi is an institute of eminence as declared by Government of India. IIT Delhi Alumni Association represents 57,000 IIT Delhi alumni globally who have contributed significantly to various social and economic development for the nation. Aarogyam, a healthcare and wellness initiative, was started last year by IIT Delhi Alumni Association. Sometimes in corporate world, in our busy schedule, we give less importance to health and overall wellness, and which has long-term ill effects. To bring unique knowledge about healthcare and wellness to our alumni, we are organizing various such events in Aarogyam initiative. So far, 3 events have been organized in Aarogyam series, and we have received wonderful feedback from our alumni across the globe. In future also, we aspire to invite various healthcare and spiritual leaders from across the world to Aarogyam platform. And now, I would like to invite our today's speaker, Acharya Prashant ji. Acharya Prashant is an acclaimed authority on Vedanta, an author of over 80 books, including the bestseller Karma and Ananda, and a powerful voice of socio-spiritual awakening in the today's world. After graduating from IIT Delhi, Acharya Prashant went on to qualify both UPSC and CAT in the same year. After 2 years at IIM Ahmedabad and a few years at corporate, he found himself a higher calling of spreading the ancient wisdom of Vedanta among the masses. And for the same purpose, he founded his mission, which is at the forefront of creating of a new humanity through intelligence spirituality. Today, this movement has touched the life of tens of millions of individuals. Through his direct contact with people and through various books and internet-based channels, he continues to bring clarity to all. So I'll not take much of the time, and I would invite Acharya Prashant ji among all of us. Good afternoon.
Thank you for having me here and for the kind introduction. And I'm really looking forward to this interaction. Thank you so much.
I would like to invite Mr. Pankaj for the first question to Acharya ji.
Pankaj ji, you can unmute yourself and ask your question. Pankaj ji, is it audible to you? Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I just lost. Okay. नमस्कार आचार्य जी. मैं पंकज कपाड़िया, बीटेक 2011 बैच. आपसे एक सवाल पूछना चाहता था कि do you believe capitalism is at the core of many problems we face today? If yes, what can individuals do about it? For example, at society level, income inequality has kept on increasing. At economic level, greed drives many business decisions as well as government decisions at times. At individual level, it puts us into a constant race for many more things to achieve in terms of monetary gains. And this is how we take education, housing, travel, healthcare, and they have been very expensive nowadays. So I want your opinion on this, that do you believe that this is the core issue to address and how to go about? Acharya sir.
Thank you for the question, Pankaj. It's not as if human beings are all right within themselves and pure of intention, simple and innocent beings, and then somehow an alien system called capitalism invades them and victimizes them. But that's how somehow a lot of us would like to think, because this line of thought places the blame of our present condition on something alien to us. So we are then happily able to justify being what we are and claim innocence. Where does capitalism come from? If we say capitalism is to be blamed for our situation as it is, where does this economic and social system come from? It comes from the mind of man. It comes from our own tendencies. Capitalism is just a way of organization of the economy. What does it say? It says that private individuals will have the right to function economically as they please, and that they'll have the freedom to earn profits, and supply and demand will determine the market prices, right? And government would not interfere in such matters. Now, you are giving somebody the right to do economic activity as per his choice. Per se, how can this be blamed for the mess we are in? Let's say you give the right of production and the right of ownership of capital and resources to some other entity, like the government, which we think of as an alternate system, right? You give the ownership of resources not to private entities, but to the collective entity called government. Will that really change things? Because if the mind of the human being is corrupted, then so will be the mind of the government, no? I am someone who has been given the right to operate freely and produce and sell as I please. What will I produce? How will I sell? How will I entice my prospective consumer to buy? That depends on the direction of my mind and the center I am operating from. If the center I am operating from is itself animalistic, then I'll want to earn profits for myself, whatever be the social cost. I'll say I might be selling something very useless and also quite dangerous. And if I have to manipulate the customer's mind to get my thing sold, I'll do that. You let the government have control of goods and services, and the corrupt mind is found there as well. There the corrupt mind will manifest itself in some other form. We know the kind of corruption that prevailed in the erstwhile USSR. We know what went behind the Iron Curtain. We know why economic activity had to collapse and why the collapse of economic activity was one of the reasons behind the disintegration of that country. So if we are rotten from within, that rottenness will show up irrespective of the economic system, philosophical system, political system, social system we choose for ourselves. No system will have the power to redeem us because we are the fathers of all our systems. Systems come from us. We don't come from our systems. So the point, the systems come from the source, that has to be cleansed. But that involves something very challenging. That involves challenging the very ego of the human being. And all that we see around ourselves is nothing but the game of the ego, the fundamental existential self. The game is on for the sustenance, the furtherance, and the protection of the ego. The ego will not want the game to shape up in a way that challenges the player itself, that challenges the existence of the player itself. The game exists for the pleasure of the player. The player is the ego. But if you want to play the game in a way that the player runs the risk of annihilation, then the player refuses to play the game. But that is what we need today. Otherwise, all that we are staring at is massive destruction of the kind we have never historically witnessed. Right? So it's not about a debate between philosophies. It's not capitalism versus socialism. It's not any ism versus any other ism. It's fundamentally about self-knowledge. Do we know who we are? Once we realize who we are, our trust on the products of our thought will reduce. And then we will be a little cautious of seeking solutions in systems of thought. You can come up with newer and newer systems of thought, place your faith in them, and hope that the new system, the seemingly innovative system, will redeem you. Unfortunately, it won't, because of the simple reason that we are reiterating. It is all coming from the same center. It is all coming from the same place. So a new system may offer a glimpse of redemption. It may entertain us and make us optimistic for a while, but these are all false beginnings. They offer a promise that does not last. The change that we need is inward, and it sounds cliched. I know it's been repeated so many times. It's been repeated so many times, but it has never been executed. So let's not just dismiss it as another cliche. We need an education system in which the child is very clearly, openly, rather ruthlessly helped to face her animalistic, prakritic nature. When we realize that our fundamental tendencies are all very gross, very primitive, and therefore we are not to place our deepest confidence on ourselves, then we'll develop a certain humility and try to look for solutions beyond what are animalistic tendencies and subsequent thoughts proposed to us. Without that, I don't really see a solution. All that we think of as solutions are nothing but extensions of systems that are already prevalent in the jungle. It's just that we have the added power of intellect as a privileged species. So the same things that operate in the jungle get ornamented with intellect and operate in our cities and countries. That does not make them any fundamentally different from what we see out there in the jungle. And if we want really something that is subtle, nuanced, sophisticated, sublime, then we'll have to look at another source within us that will give rise to something else. Operating from the same source, we cannot get a different output, a different result.
Thank you, Acharya-ji. Now we have next question from Utsav Shah. Utsav, you can unmute yourself and ask the question.
Yes. Namaste, Acharya-ji. My
Namaste.
name is Utsav. I'm from 2015 MBA batch. In my experience, only a crazy person can understand true love. So are you crazy?
You're asking this question while assuming that what you have experienced and what you have concluded based on your experience is
Yes.
already true.
Yes.
So isn't it important that first of all we investigate the premise itself?
Yes, of course.
Or do you propose that we proceed on the assumption?
No, sir, if you look at the mind and if you look at mind's perception of its own dissolution and then enjoying its own dissolution, a normal person with an ego mind will call him a crazy person, right? But for him, that is a true love. So in that sense, are you also that crazy in thinking that way?
I could say yes. I could also say
Okay.
no, but I'm not really sure whether that would be useful, because you see, these are words that are recycled so much in the spiritual literature.
Yes.
But just because one is habituated to reading them, one starts feeling one knows them.
Mhm.
Now, just because one is habituated to something does not mean that one knows that thing. For example, you could be habituated to passing by electric pole or a slaughterhouse or a hospital or a funeral ground or something every day, right? Because you are very habituated to it, it arouses no curiosity when you encounter it again and again daily. That does not really mean that we fully understand this object we are perceiving. I'm just trying to play the devil's advocate. You asked a beautiful question. I just
Yes.
want to add some value, because what you are saying is already at a certain level of thought.
Yes.
If we are here, we better attempt something higher. So
Yes.
that's where I'm coming from. So, you read Kabir Sahab, you read Rumi,
Yes.
and you read the words of the saints, and you come across such phrases as divine craziness and seeking joy in one's own inner death.
Mhm.
Uh, and they say it with such conviction and such simplicity and such
Yes.
obviousness
Yes, sir.
that we start feeling that it's something very straightforward, no? Because they are
Yes.
putting it as an obvious fact of life.
Yes.
They are looking at it as directly, as simply, and as clearly as one looks at as the teacup on the table. No?
Yes. Yes.
But we must also remember that just because they are able to articulate it in such simple terms, it does not mean the matter itself is very simple.
Yes.
This is where we can often be deceived. No? Let's say there is the Rishi from the Upanishads, and he very simply and succinctly says, Aham Brahmasmi. Aham Brahmasmi.
Yes.
So that is something that's spontaneously arising from his life. He has paid the price. He knows a few things, and from there, it is something very ordinary for him to say Aham Brahmasmi.
Yes, sir.
And if he looks at you, even to you, he will say Tattvamasi.
Yes. Yes.
But that is his prerogative to say.
Hmm.
He is the one authorized to say that. He's not stating an objective fact.
Yes.
If I say, here, to my right is a wall, and if the two are standing next to each other, then this statement as an objective fact would apply to you as well, no?
Yes,
If there is
of
a wall
course.
to my right, then there has to be a wall to your right as well.
Yes.
This, what I say then can be repeated by you without any risk of going wrong.
Yes.
But if I say Aham Brahmasmi, and you too say Aham Brahmasmi, then there is a
It is
problem.
because it's a difference. Yes.
There is a huge difference
Difference.
because it is not an objective fact we are articulating here.
Yes.
One has to earn the right to use these words.
Yes. Because reality is subjective.
Yes, because the ego has to be at its minimal before it can utter absolute truths.
Truths. Yes.
Now, if the ego stands where it is and yet it picks up words and starts repeating them and owning them, then there might be a bit of a problem.
Yes.
So the craziness of love, well, we have to be very cautious of it, because love gives you an experience of craziness, even if it is the very common, ordinary, vulgar, egoistic love. Even
Yes.
in that, people experience a certain craziness.
Yes.
Look at a 15-year-old going crazy in love.
Yes.
He's looking at
Yes.
his classmate or
Yes.
somebody.
Yes.
And he's saying this is the purest and truest kind of love possible.
Yes.
And in the age of social media, that's happening all the more. You go to Instagram or somewhere and you will have all 12 years, 14-year-olds, 16-year-olds. All of them are going crazy in true love.
Yes.
So when that is the situation of the words crazy and love and truth, how do I say that I am crazy in love? If I say that, then I run the risk of being misinterpreted. I also run the risk of being misclassified. No? So what does this word crazy mean for you? What does the dissolution of ego mean to you? I think these are more useful queries. This is what one should go into. No? What is the real lived meaning of dissolution?
Yes.
Otherwise, DISSOULI.
It won't make any difference. Yes.
No difference. Makes
Yes,
no
no
difference. We may keep saying EGO all our life, and yet have no awareness of EGO.
Yeah.
Is it there in your breath? Is the dissolution something that you are living every moment?
Yes.
That's what one has to honestly investigate. And that's what spirituality is really all about.
Yes.
To go into the facts, bare facts of one's life.
Yes.
Bare facts. How is it with me? It does not matter much how it was with the rishis and the Rumis and the Kabirs.
It's yes,
That won't help you because you have your own life to live.
yes,
A beautiful verse from a seer poet is obviously a thing of delight, but
yes,
by itself, it cannot change your life.
yes. But you can always relate to those words and
No,
then
no, no,
live
don't
it.
try to relate to them. Don't
Yeah,
try to relate to them because relationship
yeah.
is very, very dimension specific. Please understand.
Hmm.
How can a thing on the earth relate to something in the
That
sky?
is beyond. Yeah,
That is beyond. But that's the ego's aspiration to remain where
yes,
it is, to remain where it is, and yet strike a relationship with the highest.
yes.
And that is a great problem.
Hmm.
If you want to relate to the sky, then rise to the sky. That is the only honest way of relating. If you remain where you are, and the ego does not want to change itself because there is comfort in where it is,
It is.
and there is
Yes, of
security in
course.
where it is.
Yes,
Remaining where it is, if it wants to have a relationship with something of the beyond, then
yes,
this may not be very honest.
yes,
So do not just try to relate, try to rise. Try to
yes.
rise. That's more important.
More important. Thank
Thanks,
you, sir.
Acharya-ji. Acharya-ji, we have a follow-up question from Ruchira. Ruchira, can you please unmute and make your video on? Yeah, you may ask.
Namaste, Acharya ji. I am a graduate from the year 2011, BTech and MTech from Biochemical Engineering. I my question is actually an extension of what you were saying earlier in the conversation. Perhaps I did not understand it completely, which is why I'm asking my question. When you were talking about how our current systems are a whitewashed extension of what already exists in the jungle, and you spoke about animalistic nature. My question is, if the animalistic nature is so innate, natural, and core to the human experience, is your experience or is your view that one needs to embrace it and perhaps enhance it in one's everyday life, or that one needs to be able to tame it, harness it, mold it in a way that makes us, human and different from animals?
Lovely question, Rucha, and great that you asked it because I myself felt that probably the discussion was not complete at that moment. You see, this is really the only spiritual question possible. What to do with Prakriti, that which you are calling as one's innate nature. Classically, we just call it as Prakriti. Prakriti exists both outside us in the form of the jungle we referred to, and it exists in our person as well. This body and all its systems, they too are Prakritic, right? Now that's the question, what to do with it? You can't live without it, and you can't live with it as it is. So who are you? That's classically called as the Purush. Purush refers to consciousness. And what is everything that you can perceive, experience, see, talk of, think of, mentate, that is called as Prakriti. Whatever you can lay your hands on, whatever your eyes can look at, that is called as Prakriti. Whatever you can even imagine or think of, that is Prakriti. So you are the subject, the Purush, and all your objects are called as Prakriti. And indeed, the aim of all philosophical systems and all spiritual inquiry is to determine the right relationship between Purush and Prakriti. And so that's what you have asked. Do we tame it? Do we ignore it? Do we transcend it? What do we do? It's a very delicate thing, this relationship. You have to come very close to it. You have to understand it, but you have to avoid getting engaged. And that is again classically called as witnessing. You cannot run away from it, just as you cannot run away from your own body. That's a privilege not given to us. Can one run away from the body? No. Is there consciousness without body? Well, no. Absolute consciousness, it is said that it's metaphysical. not corporal. But we are not creatures of absolute consciousness, no? We are creatures of dualistic consciousness, and our personal consciousness depends totally on the body. If you sleep, the state of your consciousness changes. If you get drunk, your consciousness again changes. So can there be our personal consciousness without the body? Well, no. So then what can Purush do? It cannot run away from Prakriti, just as our consciousness is always wedded to Prakriti, which is the body. You cannot run away from it. Can you fight it? Well, that method has been tried. A lot of people have tried that method. They said, we'll do exactly the opposite of what Prakriti says. Then Prakriti laughs at them. And that's the reason Prakriti is also called as Maya. Prakriti laughs at them. Says, will you stop breathing? Can you stop breathing? Now, breathing too is an animalistic thing. It was happening in the jungle. It is happening in the cities as well. Can you stop breathing? You cannot stop breathing. Can you stop looking, perceiving? Can you stop getting attracted? Can you stop the force of inquiry and curiosity that arises in a child's mind? You cannot stop all these things. So you cannot fight me. You cannot run away from me. You cannot fight me. So what is the relationship that you need to have with me? India came up with a beautiful answer. India said, worship her. Worship her, but do not try to own her. Worship her from a reverent distance. So India then started calling the jungle as Ma. This entire system of mother worship, the Shakt stream, where you have Devi Puja and such things, is nothing but an answer to the question of right relationship. Durga or Ambika or Kali, they represent Prakriti. What to do with them? Worship them. Worship them as mother. Be close to them without the intention to possess them or exploit them. So go close to the jungle, observe it, know it, have reverence towards it, but do not aim to own it, possess it, exploit it, or consume it. That's the right relationship. And when that right relationship is there, then somehow magically Prakriti herself comes to redeem you, liberate you. So India said that liberation will not happen if you run away from her. It's not possible, because wherever you go, you will be still within her domain. There is no point in space away from her. All space is her own extension. All time is her own continuation. So thinking of somehow escaping or eloping or whatever is just impossible. You are her own product in the corporeal sense. How will you run away? So come close. Come close. But do not come close as the ordinary consumer does. When we ordinarily come close to something, we want to lay our dirty hands on that thing, no? And we want to pick that thing up and consume it and ingratiate us and feel the pleasure. India said, no, that's not the way. Go close. Go close with the spirit to really know. Go close without the intention to exploit, and that is called love. Love involves intimacy without the intention to exploit. So know her, know life, know every aspect of life. Do not shy away, do not run away. Be fully immersed. But being immersed is just not the same as being exploitative. Being immersed is not the same as being inebriated. Know it without falling prey to it. Neither should you fall prey to it, nor should you allow that thing to own you and possess you. And that's the reason why there is so much emphasis then on renunciation. Renunciation, therefore, is not about giving up. Renunciation is about not acquiring what is anyway not yours. And if somehow mistakenly you have picked it up, then respectfully just keep it back. It is not yours. Why do you want to act like a thief? Do you see how all these things are interlinked? So that's the most fundamental question. The kid is born. The kid is born as the body. But remaining the body, the kid never feels satisfied. And that's why the human being is the most restless among all species. We are endowed with a special quality of consciousness that is not content with its prakritik, animalistic existence. No animal ever feels the kind of existential restlessness that we do. So what to do then? How to live? That's the question all spirituality wants to address. Who are you? Why are you born? What to do with this life? What kind of relationship to have with this world? The right relationship is a thing of deep sadhana. You have to master it. Because if you go close to her, there is the risk of getting sucked in. You have to go close. You have to go close to observe, to know. And that is what is called as worship. Worship is not just about bowing your head in the physical sense. Worship is about going close, just as there is a deity in the temple. No, you go close to the deity. You go close to the deity and then you bow your head down. What does that mean? That means I'm coming close to you without letting my head dominate what I will do in the moment of closeness. So I'll come close to you, but just because I'm coming close to you, I'll not start. For example, the deity might be decked with a lot of gold. In India, that often is the case, no? There is a lot of gold on the deity. Now you can go to the deity and look at the gold and say, oh, I'll take all this away. That's not what you do. You go to the deity and you bow your head down. That's what you are to do with this life, with everything that is there in physical existence, be it the jungle, be it the animals, be it the natural resources, be it the opposite gender, or be it your own body. Live a life of deep immersion without, but now I'm going into the preachy aspects of it. Hope I've answered.
Thank you, Acharya ji. Now we have the next question from one of our alumni. Pankaj, can you please ask the question?
Gaurav ji, I think Anusuya ji has a follow-up question.
Okay.
Sure. I think that can be taken first, and then we can
Sure.
move on. Anusuya ji, if you can switch on your video, please, and you can ask your question. Unmute yourself and ask.
Very good afternoon, Acharya ji. My question is a little different from how the conversation has been flowing up to now. So just let me introduce myself first. I'm Dr. Anasuya Roy, PhD from Textile Technology in 2019. So my question is, so you always say that truth or righteousness is actually the one who needs Shakti, advertisement or power, right? Whereas Maya, on the other hand, is rampantly advertised and promoted. But if you look at today's context, money is also a very powerful tool which resides mostly with several people who might not be so much righteous. So what do you suggest? Do we transform those power holders who are power holders of money into righteous one? Or do you say that we should, transform those people into more righteous one? Should the money be transferred or should the people be transferred into a more righteous one, if I'm making any sense? So if the later is correct, how would you earn a huge money power from the system of Maya and without succumbing yourself to Maya? And eventually, what's the point? Because if you look at any particular time, there will be an equilibrium in the existence of both the right and wrong persons holding power. So this impact, I believe, won't be realized or be felt by the society. If you can kindly enlighten me on this issue.
You see, this has always been the case. And some kind of a solution has been found depending on the specifics of the time and the age. You look at that classical duel between Ram and Ravan. Ravan was the superpower of that time. All the resources were concentrated in his hands, were they not? And the palace itself was of gold. What more can be said? And he was sought to be reformed initially, obviously. The first attempt has to be to enlighten the other, to try to reform the other. But that usually won't work. And when that does not work, then there has to be strife and struggle, dharmyud. It's not without reason that the most important scripture of the Sanatan fold is set on the battleground, Bhagavad Gita. So, and even there on the battlefield, the Pandav side was in terms of resources and numbers significantly less powerful than their adversaries. So solutions have to be found. On one hand, you have to try to bring people like Duryodhan in line. So Vidur tried to say something to him. Bhishma tried to show some sense to him. Even Krishna went to teach him and somehow get him to agree to peace. Sometimes that works, sometimes that may not work. When that does not work, then you have to figure out how to accumulate resources and how to have the tactical wherewithal to confront the enemy, and then you take them on. You take them on. There is no other way. You talked of the rich people in today's era. You see, if we could be a people who work on consciousness, then the riches would ideally belong to the people who have the consciousness to utilize those riches. It would be a simple equation. The extent of resources at your disposal must be proportional to the depth of your consciousness. Simple equation that would determine how much money a person must have or could have. On the contrary, if you have a society in which people with very ordinary or even below ordinary levels of consciousness are commanding resources and power, then that society is bound to go down, as we are seeing today. And that's adharma in the social sense. That's exactly what Sri Krishna was trying to avoid. Hastinapur was the most important and the most powerful kingdom of the time. Krishna didn't want that all those resources should go into undeserving hands like that of Duryodhan. It was not just a matter of justice prevailing in the sense of a feud between brothers. It was not something internal to one family. It was something that was going to affect a lot of other people, the entire population of Hastinapur, and also probably all the other kingdoms in the Indian subcontinent. It had a much wider context. So dharma then had to be upheld, and that's why the battle had to be fought, and that's why the Gita had to be narrated. That's something that you would need in every era, because Maya is at work continuously, and so she ensures that all kinds of nonsensical and atrocious things keep happening. All kinds of undeserving people keep getting power. They keep becoming the presidents and the prime ministers of the world, and even evil minds keep getting to accumulate wealth and influence. So when you see that happening, then it's upon you to go back to the Gita and remember what was instructed to you, and not be shy of a good battle. No?
Thank you, Acharya-ji. Now I would request our alumni, Mr. Sanjay Jain, to kindly switch on the video and ask his question to Acharya-ji.
Thank you, Gaurav. Hello, sir. I'm Sanjay Jain, 84 batch. I have actually want to ask, like, I am very happy with my life. I have achieved everything I wanted, like more than that. But many times my anxiety level go high for unknown reasons. I do meditation, I do morning walk, everything I do. But when any call comes from the home late or something, I feel highly disturbed. Something wrong is there, or what is happening. So I just want to know what could be the reason for the same and what I should do to like improve it.
See, there are things that could actually
But
go wrong in life. There are insecurities, there are threats, and there are a few things that can actually go bust or fail. But the probability of such things happening is minuscule. Emergencies don't happen every day, but we live in the fear of those emergencies every day. So on one hand, we cannot just have a blanket statement that all our fears are totally unfounded. That's not true. What we are fearing is actually something that might become the reality one day. For example, our own death or the loss of a loved one. Irrespective of how it sounds, the fact is that all that we are attached to and all that we love is bound to be separated one day. But that one day is one among several thousand days that we are going to live, no? Several thousand days. Why live in fear every day? If something has a certain probability, then the importance that thing deserves must have some proportion to that probability. If something has a probability of 1 in 10,000 or 1 in a million, then we cannot be extremely unduly worried about it. For example, an air crash. It's not that planes won't crash, irrespective of how advanced we are and how many redundancies we put in. The fact is, planes do crash. And we know that there exists a probability of, let's say, 1 in 10 million of plane crashing. But if you are all the time worried while on the flight that your plane is going to crash, then there is a problem. What to do with that problem? That problem is usually there because the mind has nothing better to do than be problemed. If you are on the flight, and let's say it's a 3-hour flight, and every minute of those 3 hours, you are just occupied with wondering whether the flight is going to crash, then I have to ask, why don't we have something better to think about, something more useful to think of? I am not negating that the flight may indeed crash, but sir, the probability is 1 in a million. And even that probability is being reduced every passing year with advancement in technology. So then why don't I have a better book to read on flight? There's that screen probably available to me, and I can watch a decent movie. Or I could contemplate on an issue of some importance. Or I could simply take an hour of decent sleep. Why is it that I have not filled up my life with something more meaningful and purposeful than worries? See, if you want to reclaim your life, the best way is to give it up to something worthy enough. If you want to have your life, give it up. Have a great purpose in life. Have something so beautiful to live for that you don't have too much time left to worry and be afraid. Otherwise, these are all internal insects that we all have. They'll keep crawling, keep irritating, and they'll dominate all your time, attention. They will simply usurp the central position that rightfully belonged to something or somebody else, somebody higher. So that's what. I mean, there are these continuous micro issues in life, and they will remain, they will never go away. You fight them and you will make them even stronger. You don't fight them, you transcend them. You dedicate yourself to something of beauty, something of truth, something of real importance, something of importance beyond your little self. And then you find that you just don't have the space, the time, the inclination to worry and do all those things.
Thank you, sir. Actually, last lines you said were very useful to me, actually. I had also consulted a top-class psychiatrist. He said, you have achieved so much that you don't have to think about anything, but they keep on worrying all these things. But you have said it that we should to aspire something more meaningful, and it will come down, right, sir? Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you, आचार्य जी. आचार्य जी, बीच में थोड़ा आपका वॉल्यूम कम आ रहा था, तो एक हम्बल रिक्वेस्ट है, शायद आपके एंड से वॉल्यूम कम है.
I'll try to be louder and I'll also see whether.
जी, धन्यवाद. आचार्य जी, हमारे एक एलुमनाई ने एक क्वेश्चन पूछा है जो उनके बिहाफ पे मैं पढ़ के सुनाऊंगा. रजत कुमार मिश्रा, आईआईटी दिल्ली एलुमनाई. उनका पूछना है कि स्पिरिचुअल जर्नी में कभी-कभी हमें अपनी बात को रखने के लिए बहुत रूट तरीके से रखना पड़ता है, और उसमें कभी-कभी जो व्यक्ति अपनी बात रखता है स्पिरिचुअल तरीके से, उसे गुस्सा आ जाता है.
Can we have just 1 minute so that the team on any desk can look at the voice issue? Sanjay, Kamlesh, whosoever is there, can you see why my voice is not loud enough?
I think the voice is fine.
I think it's
can hear.
perfectly audible. Yes,
Yeah,
no
it's
problem.
fine.
Perfectly fine.
The voice is fine. All right, we can produce. Sorry, Gaurav, you might have to repeat the question, please.
श्योर सर, थैंक यू आचार्य जी। आचार्य जी, हमारे एक एलुमनाई ने एक क्वेश्चन पूछा है, जिनका नाम है रजत कुमार मिश्रा। मैं उनके बिहाफ से क्वेश्चन पढ़ के सुना रहा हूँ। उनका पूछना है कि स्पिरिचुअल जर्नी में अपनी बात को कई बार रखने के लिए हमें बहुत रिजिड तरीके से बात को रखना पड़ता है, और उस प्रोसेस में उस व्यक्ति को कई बार गुस्सा आ जाता है। तो क्या ये नॉर्मल है? क्या ऐसा होना चाहिए? ये उनका क्वेश्चन है।
अच्छा, आप जिनसे बात कर रहे हैं उनके सामने जब अपनी बात को रखते हैं तो उनको गुस्सा आ जाता है। देखिए, कुछ हद तक तो इस बात से कोई छुटकारा संभव है नहीं, क्योंकि आप सच्चाई को कितना भी चाशनी में लपेटें, वो थोड़ा तो सुनने वाले को कष्ट देगी ही देगी। लेकिन दूसरे को जो कष्ट होना है ना, इस बात को समझिएगा ध्यान से, दूसरे को जो कष्ट होना है वो उचित है यदि वो सच्चाई से हो, वो उचित नहीं है अगर आपके अहंकार से हो। आप किसी को आध्यात्मिक सलाह कुछ देना चाहते हैं अपनी ओर से, बहुत अच्छी बात है। आप लेकिन जिसको सलाह दे रहे हैं उसको सलाह में निहित सच्चाई से कष्ट होता है तो कोई बात नहीं, क्योंकि उसका कोई समाधान नहीं है ना, वो कष्ट एक तरह से अनिवार्य है। सच चीज ही ऐसी है जिसको आप कितना भी रुई में लपेट कर अहंकार को थमाएं, वो तब भी अहंकार को चुभेगी ही चुभेगी। तो अगर शुद्ध सच से किसी को कष्ट होता है तो आप अधिक से अधिक माफी मांग सकते हैं। आप कह सकते हैं, देखो मेरी नीयत नहीं थी तुमको चोट पहुंचाने की, लेकिन अब बात ही ऐसी है कि चोट लगनी स्वाभाविक है, एक तरह से अनिवार्य है। तो उसका तो कोई फिर समाधान नहीं है, और उसमें आपने कोई गलती भी नहीं कर दी, ना उसका कोई समाधान है और ना उसमें आपने कोई अपराध कर दी। लेकिन एक दूसरी भूल है जो अक्सर हम कर देते हैं जब हम आध्यात्मिक सलाहकार बनने लग जाते हैं, वो ये है कि हम थोड़ा सा चने के झाड़ पर चढ़ जाते हैं, क्योंकि भाई अब हम आध्यात्मिक गुरु हो गए ना, हम गुरु हो गए तो जैसे हमको अधिकार मिल गया है दूसरे से कड़वी बात करने का। अब सामने वाले को जब चोट लगेगी तो आप कहेंगे देखो इसको सच्चाई से चोट लग रही है, और सच्चाई से चोट लगनी तो अनिवार्य होती है। नहीं, ऐसा नहीं है। अब उसको सच्चाई से कम चोट लग रही है, उसको आपके अहंकार से ज्यादा चोट लग रही है। तो जब दूसरे को आध्यात्मिक सलाह दी जाए उससे पहले ये देख लेना जरूरी है कि ये सलाह आपकी आत्मा दे रही है, आपकी अहंता दे रही है, आपका अहंकार दे रहा है। वो जो सामने आपके व्यक्ति बैठा है वो सच्चाई को तो फिर भी झेल लेगा, आपके अहंकार को कतई नहीं झेलेगा, और झेलना चाहिए भी नहीं। तो अगर आप दूसरे के हितैषी बन रहे हैं, प्रेमी बन रहे हैं, सलाहकार बन रहे हैं, या गुरु ही बन रहे हैं, तो ये बड़ा जिम्मा है आप पर कि अपने आप को ठोक बजा के 100 बार देख लें कि भाई मैं उसकी भलाई के लिए उसको सलाह दे रहा हूं या अपने गौरव के लिए, अपने अहंकार के लिए उसको ज्ञान बांट रहा हूं। क्योंकि ज्ञान बांटने में अहंकार जबरदस्त होता है। ज्ञान बांटने में अहंकार को जितना सुख मिलता है वो अतुल्य है बिल्कुल। तो ये फिर दो तरफा भूल हो जाएगी ना। पहली बात तो ये कि जो भी हमने ज्ञान दिया वो अहंकारवश दिया, और ज्ञान शुद्ध हो सकता है लेकिन अगर उसमें अहंकार मिश्रित है तो वो वैसे ही हो जाएगा जैसे कि बिल्कुल शुद्ध पानी में आपने बस 0.1% जहर मिला दिया, किसी काम का नहीं बचेगा। तो इस बात का ख्याल रखना चाहिए, क्योंकि ये वरना अपने आप में एक बड़ा जाल सा बन जाता है कि ज्ञानी अपने आप को घोषित कर दिया और फिर दूसरे को लगे जानबूझकर कड़वे वचन बोलने, और जब वो सामने वाला कड़वे वचन से आहत हो जाए तो उसको बोलो ये देखो सच सुनकर इसको चोट लग रही है, सच सुनकर इसको चोट लग रही है, ये कितना नालायक आदमी है। अपने आप से पूछ लीजिएगा कि उसको चोट सच से लग रही है या आपके अहंकार से लग रही है। सच से चोट लग रही है, मैं कह रहा हूं कोई बात नहीं, लेकिन ध्यान रहे कि आपके अहंकार से चोट नहीं लगनी चाहिए। गुरु का काम होता है शिष्य के सामने झुकना। शिष्य में विनम्रता हो जरूरी है, गुरु में विनम्रता हो और ज्यादा जरूरी है। शिष्य ने तो पहले ही बोल दिया है, भाई मैं तो शिष्य हूं, मैं तो मान ही रहा हूं कि मुझ में गड़बड़ है, इसीलिए तो मैं तुमसे बात करने आया हूं। तो शिष्य में गड़बड़ है तो चलेगा, वो बात तो उसकी परिभाषा के अंतर्गत आ गई ना। तो शिष्य का अधिकार है कि वो अपने भीतर कुछ विकार वगैरह लेकर के बैठा है, चलो ठीक है भाई, तुम तो छोटे हो, तुम्हारे भीतर ये सब है, तो कोई तुमने पाप नहीं कर दिया। लेकिन अगर कोई अब गुरु और ज्ञानी बनकर बैठ गया है और उसके भीतर अभी बड़ी सख्ती है, लचक नहीं है, झुक नहीं पा रहा है, विनम्रता नहीं है, तो गड़बड़ हो जाएगी। तो अंदर की बात यह है कि जब गुरु और शिष्य मिले तो शिष्य जितना झुके, गुरु को उससे ज्यादा झुकना चाहिए। इसीलिए उपनिषदों के शांति पाठ में जो एक प्रचलित शांति पाठ है, कई शांति पाठ है, उसमें से एक है वो ये है जहाँ पे गुरु शिष्य दोनों प्रार्थना करते हैं कि हम एक दूसरे के प्रति द्वेष न रखें। क्योंकि शिष्य द्वेष न रखे, ये तो बात ठीक है, ये बात सीधी समझ में भी आती है। गुरु के लिए भी बहुत जरूरी है कि उसके मन में शिष्य के लिए सद्भावना मात्र रहे। वो शिष्य को, जो भी सामने है, क्योंकि शिष्य थोड़ा ज्यादा पुराने ढर्रे का शब्द हो जाता है, हम कहते हैं शिष्य थोड़ी कोई है, हम तो बस सलाह दे रहे थे दोस्त की तरह। चलिए दोस्त ही बोल लीजिए उसको, जो ही बोलना है बोलिए, सामने जो भी है। तो शिष्य को कहीं आप अपने खाने पीने के लिए इस्तेमाल तो नहीं कर रहे, क्योंकि अहंकार होता है भूखा, उसके सामने जो आता है वो उसको तुरंत मुंह में डाल लेता है, लपक लेता है। तो वो शिष्य को भी अपनी भूख की भेंट चढ़ा लेता है कि अब ये मिल गया, इसको खा जाओ। तो जितनी विनम्रता सुनने वाला दिखाए, उससे ज्यादा विनम्रता बोलने वाले को दिखानी चाहिए। असली सलाहकार वो है जो अपनी ऊंचाइयां छोड़ करके सुनने वाले की निचाइयों पर भी आने को तैयार हो जाए। जो ये कहे कि अगर तुम मेरी बात सुनने के लिए ऊपर नहीं उठ पा रहे हो, तो मैं अपनी बात कहने के लिए थोड़ा नीचे आकर के तुमको कह दूंगा। एक छोटा बच्चा होता है, आप उसका हाथ पकड़ना चाहते हैं, वो अपना हाथ उठाता है, उसका हाथ बहुत ऊपर तक नहीं आता, तो आप क्या करते हो? अगर आपको प्रेम है उससे, तो आप झुक करके उसका हाथ पकड़ोगे ना। तो जो व्यक्ति अपने आप को समझदार या ज्ञानी या गुरु या प्रेमी कुछ भी बोलता है, ये फिर उसका दायित्व तो बन जाता है कि वो झुकना सीखे। दूसरे को उठाने के लिए कई बार स्वयं को झुकना पड़ता है। ठीक है, तो वो सब करिए। उसके बाद फिर आपकी बात अगर थोड़ी कड़वी भी होगी तो सामने वाला फिर सुन लेगा, क्योंकि वो ये जान गया है कि देखो नीयत अच्छी है इसकी, इस आदमी की नीयत अच्छी है। डॉक्टर आपका पेट भी फाड़ देता है तो भी आप डॉक्टर को धन्यवाद बोलते हो ना। और यही कोई दुश्मन आके आपको खरोंच भी मार देगा तो आप उससे लड़ जाओगे, क्योंकि डॉक्टर के मामले में आप जानते हो कि उसकी नीयत अच्छी है। तो नियत वाली बात में बड़ी पारदर्शिता और बड़ी सफाई होनी चाहिए। आप जिससे बात कर रहे हो उसको ये भरोसा होना चाहिए कि आप उससे कड़वी बात उसको चोट पहुंचाने के लिए नहीं, उसको सुधारने के लिए बोल रहे हो। जैसे डॉक्टर के मामले में आपको पता होता है कि वो आपका पेट इसलिए नहीं फाड़ रहा है कि दुश्मनी निकालनी है, वो आपका स्वास्थ्य ठीक करने के लिए आपका पेट फाड़ रहा है ना। तो वो वाली चीज साफ रखिए कि देखो मैं अहंकारवश तुमको दुख नहीं दे रहा, चोट नहीं दे रहा, नियत मेरी साफ है। तुम्हें चोट लगेगी इसके लिए मैं तुमसे पहले ही माफी मांग लेता हूँ, लेकिन कोई बात जरूरी है तुमसे कहनी, इसलिए कह रहा हूँ। फिर मुझे लगता है कि चोट कम लगेगी और जिससे आप बात कर रहे हैं वो आपको बेहतर तरीके से समझ भी पाएगा, और उसे चोट लगी तो आपको माफ भी कर पाएगा।
धन्यवाद आचार्य जी। हमारे एलुमनाई और हमारे एसोसिएशन के प्रेसिडेंट कल्पेन जी की एक क्वेरी है, वो आपसे पूछना चाहते हैं. कल्पेन सर, काइंडली अनम्यूट एंड यू कैन आस्क.
थैंक्स करो. नमस्कार आचार्य जी. सबसे पहले तो आपका धन्यवाद, आपने हमारे साथ ये वक्त बिताया. मैं केमिकल इंजीनियर हूँ, IIT दिल्ली 84 बैच का, और तकदीर से मैं IIM अहमदाबाद में भी पढ़ा हूँ, और शायद मुझे लगता है कि आज वाकई एक अच्छा मौका है आपको कभी IIM अहमदाबाद में भी बुलाने का. माय क्वेरी आचार्य जी फॉर यू इज, if we reconcile with the current reality and also feel genuinely satisfied, then what can motivate the person further in life? Is it an ideal state to be in, or is it something to worry about?
A deeper appreciation of the same reality that we feel satisfied with. Because you see, what is this reality we are talking of? We are talking of the facts of the universe. And we are talking of the experiencer of those facts. That's what constitutes reality. Reality means two things. One, there is this wall in front of me. There is this camera. There are all these gadgets that surround me. There is this laptop in front of me. There's this handkerchief. And then there is me, that is assigning meanings to all those things that I can see, perceive, whatever. So that's what is reality. The experiencer and the experienced combined. Now, do I really know that? Because the human condition is such that if we really know what is going on in this game of duality, the experiencer, the experienced, and the experience, Gyan, Gyata, Gye, this trifecta. If we really know what is going on, then we will know we are trapped. We are born in a trap. So it is impossible to be satisfied with reality if we actually know it. And if we are satisfied, it is worth investigating whether there is a point at which our inquiry for some reason has stagnated. Because you see, the nature of ego is such that it values security more than knowledge. If knowing something might prove hazardous, then it refuses to know. And that refusal is anyway easy and comfortable because
My humble request, kindly unmute yourself.
that refusal is anyway comfortable because knowing the truth is an arduous thing. Now, who wants to slog in order to become additionally uncomfortable? I am in a happy situation. I am in a comfortable place. If I want to know the next level of truth, then it would require exploration, investment, effort. Now, what do I get out of that effort? Actually, more discomfort. So there is no incentive to explore. Please see, once one is in a happy space, what incentive is there to peel a few more layers of reality to get to the core of truth? One investigates, one explores, so that one may get some rewards. In the case of reality, the reward is further discomfort. So it's very then prakritik that one settles down. One settles down, and that's why you probably now appreciate that there is so much emphasis on settling down in our culture, society, and thought. One wants to settle down as fast as possible, because if you don't settle down, you run the risk of letting things become more and more uncomfortable for yourself, because you will know more, and knowledge is dangerous. Settling down means now you have turned a place as your permanent station, and you can have a nest there, and you don't need to know much. You don't need to travel much. Your journey has come to a full stop, and all that is it. So you see, we are born in a bad situation, and it's a difficult thing to admit. The very fact of birth is in some sense an unfortunate event. We are born with fear, we are born with greed, we are born in ignorance, but with the potential to transcend all these. The potential is a thing in future. The potential is a thing to be realized. The potential is not automatic, but the misery is automatic. The child cries aloud the moment it is born, but the child has to be painfully educated for 2 decades before he can be called a human being. So education takes so much effort, but ignorance is automatic, prakritik. It just happens. It is there right from the womb. So one cannot be born into a happy place. One cannot be born in freedom. We are all born in bondages. One cannot be born in realization. We are all born in ignorance. So the fact of human existence is really not a joyful one. Joy is something one has to attain with a lot of effort, determination, and renunciation. That's when you come to liberation and joy and that bliss that we so much talk of. Have we come to that? If we are contented, have we really come to that point? Now, can there be contentment without realization or joy? Have we really realized right up to the point where the object to be realized and the subject that realizes have both merged into each other and vanished? All that euphemism that we have for the absolute. Have we come to that? And if we have not come to that, how is it possible that we are already free of our troubles? Now, it's a dangerous situation where the troubles still exist, but one feels as if they do not. The enemy has succeeded in masquerading itself to the extent that the victim, that the attacked one, has been lulled into complacency. Right? Now, having an appreciation of the threats that surround you at most gives you sleepless nights, but it still saves you because you know that you are threatened. But what if you are threatened but feel that you are not? What if there are problems but they have become invisible? That's a bigger threat, is it not? So now that's also the reason why there are so many people who do not want to come to the scriptures, who do not venture into spirituality. Because the first thing the Upanishads will tell you, or a Buddha will tell you, is that you are in a bad place. How does the Bhagavad Gita open? Arjuna says, Krishna, take me to the middle of the battlefield. And there he realizes that he is sandwiched very badly. On one hand are the people who have suffered along with him, his brothers, his relatives. On the other hand are his teachers, his friends, and so many others he has lived with. What to do? I find it very symbolic that first of all, in the Gita, there is an appreciation of the dire situation every single individual is in. That's life. We are in a bad situation. And if Arjun does not appreciate that, then the Gita won't happen. Arjun is the only one on that battlefield who says, I want to take stock. I want to really know what's going on. we need to know what is going on. And when you know what is going on, it is often not pleasant. Just as the first noble truth of Buddha is dukkha, life is suffering. Life is suffering. That has to be appreciated, and acknowledging that is not easy. Because to acknowledge that life is suffering, you'll have to admit that all that which you call as pleasurable in your life, all that which you think of as good, healthy, okay, acceptable, is not as healthy or as acceptable as it appears. A lot of change is needed. Things are deceptively all right. Probably nothing is all right. The all rightness would vanish when one would go deeper into the reality of things. So I suppose if one is blessed to be in a position where one feels that there are no obvious challenges or troubles and that things are mostly all right, then one should use this opportunity to go deeper into reality. How? By asking questions. How? By experimenting, by exploring, by going into places where mostly people don't dare to go or don't feel interested to go. That's when something opens up, does it not? I put it this way. Probably the game wouldn't have turned around for Siddhartha Gautam had he not asked those 3-4 questions to his charioteer. And what did he ask? He said, does old age happen to everybody? Does sickness happen to everybody? Then he asked, does everybody die? And finally, he had the heart to ask, please tell me, will I too die? And he was fortunate to have a companion, a charioteer, who said, yes, Prince, you too will die. And it was those questions, those uncomfortable questions asked in an inopportune moment that helped Buddha seek liberation. Because you see, at that moment, he was going to a festival, a gala carnival of some kind. It was the youth festival of his kingdom. It was not at all opportune or comfortable to that moment to have asked those questions, but he did. Do we ask those questions? My hunch is that the most important questions remain unasked. The most important conversations never really happen. They don't happen because we make it a point to avoid them. We talk of all the silly things. We engage into all kinds of discussions and conversations, but we don't get into that which is really needed to be talked of or discussed or explored. Similarly, think of the bandit who was called Ratnakar at that time, Daku Ratnakar, and then he became the sage Valmiki. He asked his wife, he said, you partake in all the riches I bring home. And tomorrow, if I rot in hell, will you suffer with me? And he too was fortunate to have a wife who candidly admitted, no, no, dear one, that you have to bear all alone. I won't accompany you. Now, that's the kind of question most persons don't ask their spouses. That's where we feel we are in a happy and comfortable and settled place. You are in a settled place only as long as you are not asking those honest questions. The thing is, we are so afraid of honesty and those questions because we know that our fragile peace would simply shatter the moment real inquiry happens. Husband asks these questions to the wife, and after that you have a huge war for the next 7 days. So you just want to avoid all that. You don't want to ask those questions. Similarly, do you want to know the relationship, the fact of our relationship with our customers, with our employees or our employer, with anything we are related to and anything that we feel good and nice about? That's the thing with all this apparent goodness and niceness. It does not survive being scratched. It is so superficial, you just scratch the surface and the ugliness beneath shows up. So we let the surface remain as it is, we don't even scratch it. We don't ask the real questions ever. And we just talked of asking real questions to the ones you are related to. Worse still, we do not ask the real questions to ourselves. Why do I visit this place every day? Why do I return to this place every day? In the morning, I do something every day. Why? Why do I have all these phone numbers in my directory? Why must I live in the place where I do? Because we have not asked these questions since long, so they start appearing odd. We feel, but nobody asks these questions. Certain things are taken for granted. This is commonsensical. Keep common sense aside and keep truth at the center for a while, and then you realize that you have something to be grateful for. Once you put truth in the limelight, you will get a purpose for life. Because you see, a rightful purpose for life has to be in the negativa. We are people in bondages. So the right purpose must involve challenging your bondages. Now, you cannot challenge your bondages if you do not even know your bondages. And realization of bondages comes from honest inquiry. So when you really inquire, what do you get? You get an idea, an assessment of how deeply bonded you are. And once you get that, you get a purpose to live for. Now, there would be energy in life. Now there would be a certain vitality and a certain honesty, because there is something that ought to be challenged. You'll say, can't one live simply? Can't one live purposelessly? Well, that is the prerogative of realized saints. Those who have lost their bondages, they and only they can live purposefully. We, common human beings, must have a great purpose to live for. Our life needs to be purposeful. And if your life is rightly purposeful, then one day you might come to the point of purposelessness. That is the absolute, the final. But right now, as we are, we must have a great purpose. And that purpose, I said, can come only from an assessment of one's bondages. And that assessment can come only from courageous inquiry. Courageous inquiry. Ask, see, probe, experiment, inquire. And then you will see that there is something, in fact, there is a lot waiting to be done. Take that up.
Thank you, Acharya ji. Acharya ji, we have a follow-up question from Meenu ji, and after that we have Pankaj.
Sure.
Meenu ji, kindly unmute yourself.
Gaurav ji, I think
Haji.
Pankaj ji's question is a direct follow-up on
Direct.
the current discussion. We can take him first.
Yeah. Pankaj ji, you can.
Okay. Thank you. नमस्कार आचार्य जी, मुझे एक सवाल ये पूछना था कि ये जो आपने क्वेश्चंस पूछने और एक्सपेरिमेंट करने की बात जो कही, तो क्वेश्चंस पूछने और एक्सपेरिमेंट करने की कोई सीमा है? क्या ये एक नॉन एंडिंग पाथ की तरफ हमें ले जाता है? अगर ये नॉन एंडिंग पाथ पे जाता है, विच आई प्रिज्यूम ऐसा होता होगा, उस केस में क्या हम ऐसा कह सकते हैं कि ज्ञान को सीख करने की जो हमारी टेंडेंसी है, उसमें हम जब उस रास्ते पे चलेंगे तो कभी भी डेस्टिनेशन तक पहुंच पाएंगे क्या? और अगर डेस्टिनेशन तक नहीं पहुंच पाएंगे तो हम उस कार्य को अधूरा छोड़ने के रिस्क में हमेशा रहते हैं, और कहीं ना कहीं ये हमारे जीवन की मीनिंग को इनकम्प्लीट रहने का खतरा प्रोड्यूस करता है. एंड दिस इज समथिंग which disturbs our mind. So what is the destination in the quest of seeking knowledge, if there's so, and if it is supposed to be incomplete, what is the point in seeking knowledge? That's my question.
No, this is not how the whole thing operates. It operates differently. Let's understand. Once you ask a question, you get a certain clarity. Then that clarity has to be lived.
आचार्य जी क्षमा करें, आपकी आवाज थोड़ी कम आ रही है.
Is the voice better now? Once you ask,
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Once you ask a certain question, what you get is clarity. Then that clarity is not there just to be thought of. It is not an idea that has been given to you. If you are honest enough, then that clarity is something you are obliged to now live. Once you live it, once you start putting it in action, then you get the right to ask subsequent questions. And then again, those subsequent questions have to be lived. Right? Now, what is happening in the process of putting that clarity in action? What is happening is that the actor is getting reduced, that the actor is losing his baggage. You do not reach a destination. The actor is the one aspiring usually to reach a destination, is he not? That actor never reaches a destination. The destination of the actor is to reach his dissolution. Whereas your mental model is that of a man walking down a road. You feel you are starting from somewhere and you have to reach a point somewhere outside of yourself, far away. That's not how the spiritual thing operates. In the spiritual journey, you are not walking down a road. The action that is happening is reducing you. And when have you reached the destination? When there is nobody left to reach the destination. When there is just nobody left to talk of a destination, to talk of this and that, that's when you have arrived. The only problem in this is that when you tell this to the ego, it does not sound attractive or appealing at all. Why? Because the ego wants to have the pleasure of knowing and announcing that it has reached the destination. That's what you want to do, right? I've won this title. I've completed my degree, and then you want to put that on Facebook. The thing is, in the spiritual process, when you have really won it, you won't survive to declare it. And that's why the ego does not like the spiritual process. The ego says, what's the point? If at the destination, I will no more be alive. I want to be at the destination and also have the pleasure of experiencing the destination, of consuming the fun. But if that is the objective, then you will never be at the destination. So the right action, therefore, is something that keeps dissolving you. Do you get the kind of algorithm we are talking of? There can be no algorithm, but just for the sake of a bit.
Right, sir. Right, sir. Right, sir. I completely.
You know, you live, and when you live rightly, that enables you to know further. And all this is happening at the periphery internally. When all this is happening, you are getting dissolved.
So basically, there is nothing called destination or something called accomplishment. It's about enjoying the process.
It is about daring to be in the process. Enjoyment and all, I do not know.
Okay.
It requires lots of guts.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Wonderful.
Acharya ji, next we have Meenu ji. Minuji, kindly unmute yourself and you can ask the question.
Namaskar, Acharya-ji. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Minuji, can you please switch on your video as well for the recording purposes? Thank you.
Namaskar. So, introducing myself, I graduated in 2010, and right now I'm working as an associate professor at IIT Jodhpur. So, I've been listening to you, and I sincerely admire the depth with which you teach spirituality. So, in line with what you have been talking about, I have actually I had a lot of questions, but looking at the time, maybe you'll be able to take up one or two. So the first question was, what is the main aim of getting this human life? So you said there's a purpose, and like the common man should have a purpose. And once you reach the state of enlightenment, then you become purposeless. Then you become one with the formless. So, so when we talk about the main aim of getting this human life, what is that? Why am I born? So this is number one. The other thing, in line with what you were explaining to the other questioners, was that the aim is to remove the suffering, because we feel that we are suffering. We experience emotions, we experience fear, we experience sadness, we experience a lot of disappointments in our life. So that is the aim, that animals are better because they don't have that level of information processing, and therefore perhaps they have lower stresses and lower tensions in life. Then what is it that is so special about being called Bade Bhag Manush Tan Bhava? So why it is called so important to get a human body? And the other thing is that when we look at the history, we talk about saints, we look at their lives, we talk about Jesus Christ, how he struggled passing the message to the common man. People were actually cruel to him. So, and similarly, we witnessed there were 10 Sikh gurus who also encountered these I would say, counter attacks, that when they tried spreading the message of truth across masses, there was a retaliation, there was a resistance, and that actually impacted them physically and financially. So, what is it? What should be my driving force? How do I know what my aim is? And if I'm not able to reach that aim, what are the consequences? What is going to happen then? Where am I losing? What am I losing? And the other thing is that after enlightenment, if there are sufferings still, so what is the benefit of being enlightened? These are my questions. Thank you.
See, if we know what is it to live, what is it to be alive, then the purpose of life is easily apparent. We are born into ignorance, are we not? There is no moment when we are not divided, not worried, not afraid, not tempted, not insecure. There is hardly any decision that goes as per the plan. We think of one thing and something else happens. We live at the mercy of circumstances so much, therefore we have to keep fighting the circumstances. Death keeps staring at us as the biggest scare there can be. That's the human condition. We have to first of all acknowledge the human condition as we live it and as we see it unfolding all around us. You look at the common man on the road. Do you see joy, peace, contentment on his face? You look at the family, you look at the man, the wife, the kids, the parents. Do you really see honesty and confidence and faith and deep love there? Or do you also see things that are not apparent, but very strongly present below the surface? You look at friends hanging out together, having apparently a good time, and then you see them splitting. You look at the man proposing to the woman and tossing up words like love and togetherness and eternity and infinity. And then you see what happens to all that just a few months down the line. So that's the human condition. You could also look at how our jungles are, what we have done to the other species, the hundreds of species that are going extinct every day. Yes, every day. You could look at our slaughterhouses. You could look at our carbon footprint. And then you will realize what the purpose of life is. The purpose of life is to extricate ourselves from this abominable situation. We are in a muck and we need to be redeemed, extricated. That's what one has to live for. Now, human beings are special because they have a consciousness that asks for liberation. I said special, and special does not necessarily mean better or higher compared to the other species. All the other species are completely prakratic. They have no urge for liberation. They have only one center within, the center of physical nature. The moment they are born, their fate has already been decided. A dog will live as a dog. No dog is ever going to do great things. And equally, no dog is ever going to do demonic things. You will not find a great difference between one dog and another dog. Dogs are dogs. But you will find a great difference between one man and another man. It is very possible that one person can be absolutely incomparable to another person when it comes to the level of consciousness and the quality of life he has lived. This urge to be liberated is a double-edged sword. It works both ways. It can take you higher and higher, or it can make you sink to unimaginable depths. So are human beings actually privileged on account of their human birth? Not really. 999 out of 1,000 human beings actually live lives worse than that of animals. The opportunity to rise above the animalistic consciousness is utilized only by 1 in 1,000. Yes, that 1 in 1,000 is actually far better than animals, but only 1 in 1,000. The others would actually have been better off being born as animals. It is their misfortune that they were born as human beings, because if you are born a dog, you cannot suffer beyond a point. You cannot also fall beyond a point. Being born a human being, you can fall to atrocious depths. The freedom to choose, the faculty of choice is available only to human beings. Most of us misuse it. Why? Because we have no self-knowledge. We do not know who we are. We do not understand that we are just incomplete consciousnesses. We are thirsty minds whose purpose is to quench their inner thirst. We think that we are born to earn, to marry, to procreate, to consume, to have fun, and then die one day. This kind of life philosophy arises from absence of self-knowledge. Unfortunately, this is the prevailing life philosophy, and it has always been this way. It's just that today we are additionally, especially unfortunate because this philosophy has been empowered with a lot of progress in technology and a lot of prosperity. A false philosophy has been given a lot of technical and economic power. So we are wreaking havoc on ourselves and the entire planet. We are very, very different from animals. Animals are born to live and die as animals. A road accident happens, right? And the road is running in the middle of a jungle. A road accident happens, and no animal comes to help the victims. It's okay. It's okay. You need not raise your finger at animals and prove them guilty. It is even possible that if there is a dying person on the road, some eagle or vulture may actually come close to feast upon this dying one. And you will not be able to declare that that bird as evil, because the bird is only doing what its prakritic constitution, what its genetic impulses command it to do. It cannot do anything else. It does not have the power to choose. But if there is a road accident and human passerbys do not stop to help, then they are indeed guilty, are they not? That's the difference. We are creatures of consciousness. Human beings have a consciousness that can look at itself. And when it looks at itself, it sees bondages. Therefore, it is obliged to work for liberation, and that is the purpose of life. By their bodily constitution, animals do not have a consciousness that can self-reflect, that can know itself. Therefore, they will never know that they are in bondage. Hence, they live in some kind of superficial peace. Animals never suffer the kind of tensions and anxieties that most human beings do. That is because they have no potential for liberation. Now you have to decide what you want to do with your potential and your inner urge. It's just an opportunity. And we said this opportunity works both ways. It can take you to liberation, or it can take you to the various substitutes of liberation that crowd the market. In our markets of all kinds, what's being sold is actually, in the psychological sense, nothing but substitutes to the real thing. The real thing is very expensive from the point of view of the ego. So the ego tries to have cheap substitutes, and that's what abounds the markets. Be it the markets of relationships, of jobs, markets of money, opportunity, career, growth, opportunities, or markets of material goods. We go to those markets because we just don't have the courage to pay the price for the real thing. So we go to these duplicate markets instead. I'm not sure whether I have answered all the 3-4 questions that you had, but I tried to bundle all of them into one and respond. Have I succeeded?
Yes, you have answered all the questions. So the last question which I asked you was that what are the benefits of being enlightened?
No, there is nobody to receive those benefits.
So is it that I'll be free from all sufferings, or is
There
it just
will be no I. There will be no I. As long as you are there, how can you be free from sufferings? See, let's be a little down to earth. It does not behove us to ask for what will happen when there will be complete freedom from sufferings. Right now, let's acknowledge first of all that all of us, you, me, everybody, we are in a pretty miserable state. And we should be grateful even for a little relative progress that we can have in the internal sense. What will happen at the final point is just too much to ask for. Why are we asking for final enlightenment? Have we had even a relative progress? It's like asking what will happen at the moon when we are so badly hit in the legs that we can't even move to our restroom or the nearby market. So what is more practical and what is more honest is to look at where we really are in the practical sense and try to improve from there. It is not of much use to have a great discussion about the state of enlightenment. That is one thing that should actually never be discussed. But the ego finds a lot of pleasure discussing enlightenment. You are so far away from it. Additionally, enlightenment is not something that is ever going to happen to you. When there is enlightenment, there is no you. So why are you so interested in enlightenment? We should be interested in relative liberation, incessant, determined process of liberation, not in the end result of the process. And that is Nishkam Karma. Don't talk too much about what would happen right at the end. See where you are and proceed from there. And that would be far more helpful. Far more helpful. Do the next thing right. Don't speculate about some divine state. Just do the next thing right. Look at what is the next decision you have to make. Look at the next issue you have at hand. And ask yourself, what is the best I can do here? Who am I? And hence, what is it that I now need to do in this present context? That's what is spiritual. Spirituality is not about speculating or imagining some promised state of enlightenment. Enlightenment is a word that I am really wary of uttering, because a lot of mischief has happened in the name of enlightenment. The aim of spirituality is to give you freedom from your inner diseased state, not to give you theories and ideas and stories about what absolute health looks like. The sick man does not need a great song about health. The sick man needs a medicine that would make him relatively better the next day. And the next day, again, he has to try to be relatively better the next day. That's the process. The process is what must matter. Not colorful stories about the end result.
Thank you, Acharya ji. Now we have the next person, Abhyendra. Can you please unmute yourself and ask your query?
Yeah, hello, Acharya ji.
Yes.
We have crossed the time, but I'll keep my question short. मैंने आपका एक वीडियो देखा था जिसमें आपने पैसे के ऊपर बात की थी, कुछ नोएडा के कॉलेज के स्टूडेंट्स थे और आपने उनको एड्रेस किया था. तो उसी से रिलेटेड मेरा क्वेश्चन है कि मैरिड लाइफ में मतलब आजकल की सिचुएशन देख के या सोसाइटी के हिसाब से कितने बच्चे करने चाहिए लोगों को मैरिड लाइफ के बाद, और कितना पैसा जरूरी है कि मतलब सोसाइटी में फैमिलीज अच्छे से रह सके, एक फैमिली या एक कंट्री में कितनी कितने उनके पास आमदनी होनी चाहिए कि वो आराम से रह सके।
कितने बच्चे पैदा करने चाहिए और कितना पैसा होना चाहिए? तुम फैसला कर ही चुके हो कि पैदा करने हैं, तो ये भी कर लो कि कितने करने हैं। इसमें मैं कहां से आ गया? बड़ी बातें आप खुद तय कर लेते हैं। सब कुछ खुद कर लेते हैं। दुकान खोल ली पूरी, फीता कटवाने के लिए आचार्य जी को बुलवा लेते हैं। दुकान खोलनी भी है कि नहीं खोलनी है, उसमें क्या बेचना है, क्या खरीदना है, ये सब तय करते वक्त तो मैं नहीं याद आता। एक लाल फीता बांध के हाथ में कैंची थमाने के लिए मैं याद आ जाता हूँ। ये तो नाइंसाफी है भाई, ऐसे थोड़े ही होगा। कितने बच्चे पैदा करने चाहिए? मनोरंजक सवाल है, पहले किसी ने मुझसे पूछा नहीं। मतलब बच्चों के बारे में कई बातें पूछी हैं, पर ये कभी नहीं पूछा कि कितने होने चाहिए। कितने होने चाहिए, अब मैं किस किस तल पर इसका जवाब दूं? यहाँ पे मैं बैठा हूँ, मुझसे पूछोगे, मैं कहूँगा बहुत सारे होने चाहिए, अनंत होने चाहिए, पूरी दुनिया को ही बच्चा मान लो ना अपना। बच्चा कौन होता है? देखो, बच्चा वो होता है जिसकी चेतना अभी छोटे से तल पर है ना? जो बहुत समझता नहीं, जो बहुत जानता नहीं, उसको बच्चा बोलते हैं। बोलते हैं ना? बोलते हैं ना? अच्छा, अब खरगोश है, मेरे साथ रहते हैं। अब उनकी उम्र आमतौर पर ऐसे ही होती है, 6 साल बहुत हुआ, 10 साल, ठीक है। तो अगर कोई 5 साल का खरगोश है, तो इंसानों की उम्र के हिसाब से वो 83 साल का हो चुका है, क्योंकि 6 साल की उसकी उम्र होनी है, 5 का हो चुका है। तो तुम कह सकते हो वो 83 साल का बुढ़ा है, तो वो मुझसे ज्यादा उम्र का है, बुजुर्ग है मेरे लिए वो। लेकिन मैं उसको ऐसे उठा लेता हूँ, तो उसकी कुल चेतना कितनी है? उसकी चेतना बहुत कम है ना, इसीलिए तो वो जानवर है, पशु है। और जिसकी चेतना कम होती है उसको ही क्या बोलते हैं? बच्चा। तभी तुम बच्चों का इतना ख्याल रखते नहीं, कोई बच्चों की चेतना कम होती है। तभी तो बच्चे हमको बड़े प्यारे और बड़े क्यूट लगते हैं ना। क्यों क्यूट लगते हैं? क्योंकि उन्हें कुछ पता ही नहीं, उसको हम मासूमियत बोल देते हैं। वो अबोध है, वो कुछ समझते नहीं, बोध नहीं है उनको। उस उनके अबोध होने को हम कह देते हैं कि वो मासूम है बच्चे। तो जिस तरीके से बच्चे आपको मासूम लगते हैं, उसी तरीके से तो दुनिया भर के जितने जानवर हैं वो भी तो सब मासूम ही है ना, क्योंकि दोनों की ही चेतना एक ही जैसी है। तुम एक छोटा सा बच्चा बैठा दो और उसके साथ एक छोटा सा पपी रख दो, दोनों एक ही तरह का व्यवहार कर रहे होंगे, लौट रहे होंगे एक दूसरे के ऊपर, बहुत कम अंतर होता है उनमें। तो तुमको अगर बच्चा मानना ही है तो दुनिया भर में जितने भी पशु हैं सबको अपना बच्चा मान लो, क्योंकि पशु कितनी भी उम्र का हो जाए उसकी चेतना तो बहुत बढ़ती नहीं, जैसे मेरे खरगोशों की नहीं बढ़ती, तो बच्चे ही हैं, उनको क्यों नहीं बच्चा मान लेते? दुनिया में ये जितने भी पशु हैं ना, वो एक तरीके से हमें दिए गए हैं कि हम उनकी देखभाल करें। वो बच्चे हैं सारे के सारे, क्योंकि उनको तो ज्यादा समझ है ही नहीं। समझ किसको है? वो इंसान को है। पूरे अस्तित्व में एक ही प्राणी है ना जो समझ रखता है, वो कौन है? वो इंसान है। बाकी हाथी भी होगा बड़ा विशाल, तो उसको समझ कितनी है बेचारे को? बहुत विशाल हाथी है लेकिन ज्यादा समझता थोड़ी है, तभी तो तुम उसको मार लेते हो, शिकार कर लेते हो, उसके दांत के लिए क्या क्या जुल्म कर लेते हो उसके साथ। वेल को तुमने नष्ट ही कर दिया, इतनी बड़ी वेल होती है, क्योंकि उसके पास चेतना बहुत कम है। जिसके पास भी चेतना कम है उसको अपना बच्चा ही मानो ना, क्योंकि बच्चा यही है, बच्चे की परिभाषा ही यही है कि जिसकी चेतना कम है। तो ये जितने दुनिया भर में जीव जंतु हैं इनको गोद ले लो, इनको अपना बच्चा मान लो, चाहे वो छोटा सा खरगोश हो, बहुत बड़ी व्हेल हो, कोई भी हो, सब बच्चे हैं। तो हो गए बच्चे। अब कितने बच्चे होने चाहिए? करोड़ों होने चाहिए, अरबों होने चाहिए। लेकिन कोई जरूरी थोड़ी कि तुम अपने शरीर से उनको पैदा कर रहे हो। काहे के लिए पैदा करना? मत करो। करोगे क्या? इतनी बार तो समझाया कि इंसान का हर एक बच्चा जो पैदा हो रहा है वो लाखों जीवों की लाश पर पैदा हो रहा है। और हम लोग तो यहाँ बैठ के बात कर रहे हैं, सब IIT से हैं लोग। हम तो आंकड़े समझते हैं ना, हम तो विज्ञान समझते हैं, हम टेक्नोलॉजी समझते हैं कैसे एक चीज दूसरी चीज को प्रभावित करती है, प्रोसेसेस कैसे काम करते हैं इकोलॉजी में, हम सब समझते हैं ना। तो तुम जानते ही हो कि एक एक व्यक्ति जो कंजम्पशन करता है वो प्रकृति को, पर्यावरण को, जानवरों को नष्ट करे बिना हो ही नहीं सकता। पृथ्वी पर इतने संसाधन ही नहीं है कि आप जी सकें बिना दुनिया का नाश करे। उसके बाद भी तुम मुझसे क्यों पूछ रहे हो कि कितने बच्चे पैदा करने चाहिए? मैं क्या बताऊं? और दूसरी ओर ये भी कह रहा हूं कि अनंत है बच्चे। ये सब जो पूरी प्रकृति है इसको गोद ले लो, कह दो मैं बाप हूं इसका, मुझे इसकी देखभाल करनी, सबको गोद ले लो। फिर पूछ रहे हो कितना पैसा होना चाहिए, वो भी इस पे निर्भर करता है कि तुमने किसको अपना बच्चा बना लिया। लोग शादी वगैरह कर लेते हैं, वो अपने पति या पत्नी को ही बच्चा बना लेते हैं, बेबी बेबी बोलना शुरू कर देते हैं। बेबी माने तो बच्चा ही होता है। अब ऐसा तुमने विशाल बच्चा पाल लिया तो तुम्हें बहुत सारे पैसे चाहिए होंगे भाई। अगर तुम्हारे बच्चे का नाम बेबी है तो फिर तुम्हें कितना पैसा चाहिए उसकी कोई सीमा नहीं। ये बेबी जो है ये सारा पैसा सोख लेगी या सोख लेगा, और उसके बाद भी इसको संतुष्टि नहीं होने की। तुम आईआईटी से हो, तुम आईएम से हो जाओ, तुम हार्वर्ड चले जाओ, तुम डबल पीएचडी कर लो, तुम दुनिया के सबसे अमीर आदमी भी बन जाओ, तो भी बेबी को भी और पैसा चाहिए होगा। बात समझ में आ रही है? तो मैं क्या बताऊं कि कितना पैसा होना चाहिए जीवन में? वो तो इस पे निर्भर करता है ना कि तुमने जीवन में उद्देश्य क्या चुन रखा है। जीवन में उद्देश्य क्या चुन रखा है, सही उद्देश्य चुनो। फिर उसके लिए अगर तुमको पैसा चाहिए तो वो पैसा तुमको अर्जित भी करना चाहिए, और उस पैसे को पाने में ये भी मानो कि फिर एक तरह से तुम्हें अस्तित्व भी सहायता देगा, और फिर तुम उस पैसे का सदुपयोग भी कर पाओगे। लेकिन तुम ये सब अब व्यर्थ के झंझटों में पड़ जाओ, और इन झंझटों में पड़ने के कारण तुम पैसा कमाओ कि अब शादी कर ली है और 4 बच्चे कर लिए हैं, तो अब तो देखो बड़ा सा एक बंगला भी होना चाहिए, और अब ये खर्चा भी अब करना चाहिए, वो खर्चा भी करना चाहिए, उसके लिए मुझे पैसा चाहिए। तो ऐसा पैसा तो कमाना भी जीवन की बर्बादी है, और ऐसा पैसा खर्च करके भी तुम अपना नाश ही करोगे। कमाने में भी नाश है और खर्चने में भी नाश है। तो बात फिर पैसे की नहीं है, बात पैसे के उद्देश्य की है। वो पैसा तुम्हें किस लिए चाहिए? पैसा तो संसाधन मात्र है, रिसोर्स है बस। प्रश्न ये है कि वो तुम्हें खर्च किसके लिए करना है। तुमने एक अपना छोटा सा घोंसला बना लिया है और तुम कमा कमा के उसी घोंसले को भर देना चाहते हो, तो इसी का नाम पाप है। क्योंकि अगर तुम्हारे जीवन का उद्देश्य बस यही रह गया है कि मुझे अपने घोंसले की बेहतरी करनी है, तो फिर तो तुम पूरी दुनिया में आग लगाओगे ना। तुम्हारा सरोकार तो बस तुम्हारे अपने घोंसले से रह जाएगा कि मुझे अपने घोंसले की बेहतरी चाहिए, उस बेहतरी के लिए मैं पूरी दुनिया में आग लगा दूंगा। और आज अगर पूरी दुनिया में आग लगी हुई है, और मात्र मुहावरे के तौर पे नहीं, सही में आग लगी हुई है। देखो अभी लंदन में आग लगी हुई है, फ्रांस में आग लगी हुई है। वो आग किसी आतंकवादी ने नहीं लगाई है, वो आग यही जो हमारे घोंसले हैं और जो हमारी कमाने की प्रवृत्ति है और जो हमारे परिवार केंद्रित स्वार्थ हैं कि अपने बच्चे करूंगा और फिर अपने बच्चों के लिए पैसा कमाऊंगा, इन्हीं सब चीजों ने आज क्लाइमेट चेंज को ऐसी जगह पहुंचा दिया है कि जहां देखो वहां आग लग जा रही है अपने आप। लंदन में 40 डिग्री टेम्परेचर हो गया, लंदन में 40 डिग्री। ये आग फिर कह रहा हूं, न तो किसी दूसरे ग्रह ने आक्रमण करके लगा दी है, न आतंकवादियों ने लगा दी है, ये आग हमारे परिवारवाद ने लगा दी है। सबको यही करना है कि पति हो, पत्नी हो, बच्चे हो, और बढ़िया आमदनी हो और खुशहाली हो। इसी सोच का, इसी दर्शन का, इसी भोगवाद का तो दूसरा नाम क्लाइमेट चेंज है ना। क्लाइमेट चेंज और कहां से आ रहा है? तुम्हारे कंज्यूमरिज्म से ही तो आ रहा है। और वो कंज्यूमरिज्म कहां से आता है? ऐसे ही तो आता है कि पढ़ लिख लिए। क्यों पढ़े लिखे हो? क्योंकि उससे पति या पत्नी अच्छा मिल जाएगा, और जब वो मिल गया तो उसके बाद अब घोंसला भरना चाहिए, कम से कम 2-4 बच्चे तो होने चाहिए। और फिर उसके बाद बहुत सारी आमदनी होनी चाहिए ताकि उसमें ला करके फिर घोंसले में चीजें भी तो भरनी होंगी। इसी का नाम तो क्लाइमेट चेंज है। और क्या है क्लाइमेट चेंज? थोड़ा ज्यादा बोल गया लगता है। लेकिन मुझसे अब पूछो कि कितने बच्चे करने हैं, तो ऐसी ही कुछ सलाह सुनने को मिलेगी।
धन्यवाद आचार्य जी। आचार्य जी, हमारा ये लास्ट क्वेश्चन है। मैं खुद भी अरावली हॉस्टल से पास आउट हूँ। हमारे और काफी साथी जो जुड़े हुए हैं वो अरावली हॉस्टल से हैं, और जैसा कि हम जानते हैं आप भी अरावली हॉस्टल से हैं। आचार्य जी, हॉस्टल का एक स्टूडेंट की लाइफ पे किस तरह से इम्पैक्ट पड़ता है? हम जैसे ही हॉस्टल ज्वाइन करते हैं हम बस हॉस्टल के हो जाते हैं, शेयरिंग करते हैं हॉस्टल के लिए, फिर ऑल ऑफ ए सडन हॉस्टल से दूर हो जाते हैं। तो ये पूरी जो जर्नी 4-5 साल की हॉस्टल की होती है, किस तरह से हमारे लॉन्ग टर्म गोल्स को इम्पैक्ट करती है, और इन सब चीजों ने आपको कैसे इम्पैक्ट किया? प्लीज इस बारे में मार्गदर्शन करें।
हॉस्टल के वो 4 साल तो बड़े महत्वपूर्ण थे ही, और काफी असर भी उनका पड़ा। मैं बहुत सामाजिक किस्म का लड़का नहीं था, तो अपना घर में ही पढ़ाई लिखाई करना, और ऐसा ही मेरा काम चला था 12वीं क्लास तक। और फिर जब हॉस्टल पहुंचा तो वहाँ पे अचानक दुनिया ही दूसरी खुल गई थी। मैंने कोचिंग वगैरह भी नहीं करी थी, तो मैं कभी निकला ही नहीं था घर से। 12वीं करी और 12वीं करके सीधे उसी साल आईटी में घुस गया। दुनिया ज़्यादा देखी नहीं थी। तो एक तो इतने सारे लोग, और वो भी जितने भी वहाँ स्टूडेंट्स थे सब किसी न किसी मामले में धुरंधर थे। एक तो ये भी था कि जेई सबने क्लियर कर रखा था, और जेई के अलावा भी हर दूसरे तीसरे लड़के में किसी न किसी तरह की प्रतिभा भी थी। खेलने कूदने में अच्छे थे, ड्रामेटिक्स में अच्छे थे, जनरल नॉलेज कुछ का था, काफ़ी अच्छा था। तो काफ़ी कुछ था माहौल में जिससे आप प्रेरणा ले सकते थे। तो आप अगल बगल जब अपने देखते थे तो इंस्पिरेशन की कहीं कमी नहीं रहती थी। फिर सीनियर्स थे, और बहुत सारे सीनियर्स ऐसे थे जिनको लेकर के बहुत तरह की कहानियाँ थीं। किसी की सीजीपीए 9.8 थी, कोई ऐसा था जिसने 2 सेमेस्टर्स में लगातार एसजीपीए 10 कर रखी है। कोई बॉडी बिल्डर भी थे, अलग अलग तरीके की चीज़ें थी। तो बहुत कुछ था जो वहाँ से सीख सकते थे। लेकिन मुझे जिस चीज़ में हॉस्टल से सबसे ज़्यादा फ़ायदा हुआ वो था रेजिस्टेंस से। वहाँ बहुत कुछ ऐसा भी था जो मैं स्वीकार नहीं कर सकता था, तो उसका विरोध करना मेरे लिए बहुत ज़रूरी था। तो वो मैंने करा भी। मैं ये बीआरसीए में सक्रिय था काफ़ी। तो ड्रामेटिक्स और बीएसपी में राइटिंग, पोएम्स लिखता था, जो कि तब मैगजीन्स रहती थी। एक कैंपस रम्पस एक छोटा सा न्यूज़पेपर होता था, एक कॉर्नोकोपिया होती थी, एक आधा और कोई मैगजीन होती थी, उसमें कुछ छपता था। वैसे ही डिबेटिंग, आशु भाषण, मैं इन सब में सक्रिय था। फिर मैंने इलेक्शन लड़ा, इन्हीं मुद्दों पे लड़ा था। मैंने रेजिस्टेंस की बात करी, तो वो एक तरह से मेरा रेजिस्टेंस ही था कि मुझे लिए वो इलेक्शन लड़ना ज़रूरी था। उसको मैं फिर हारा भी, और वो हार भी मेरे लिए बड़ी महत्वपूर्ण बन गई। मैं समझता हूँ कि वो जो जो हार थी उसने अचानक से मुझे कई साल बड़ा कर दिया। और उसी समय पर कविताएं मैं पहले से लिखता था, लेकिन वही वो सेमेस्टर था जब मेरा गंभीर कविता के प्रति रुझान हो गया। और उन घटनाओं का संयोग कुछ ऐसा बैठा कि मेरा परिचय भी ऐसे लोगों से हुआ जो खुद कविता के क्षेत्र में थे और जिनके व्यक्तित्व में भी गहराई थी। तो मेरा सौभाग्य रहा कि उधर उठने बैठने लगा, चर्चा में एक गहराई आ गई। तो बहुत सारी चीज़ें थीं जो फिर बदल गई। और जो मैं बदलाव लाना चाहता था, मैं जिस रेजिस्टेंस की बात कर रहा हूँ, मुझे ये भी दिखने लग गया कि ये बात सिर्फ हॉस्टल की नहीं है, या ये बात सिर्फ इंस्टीट्यूट लेवल इलेक्शंस की या बीआरसीए पोस्ट की नहीं है। मुझे इसको जीना है। मुझे शायद जीने का एक उद्देश्य ही मिल गया। मैंने कहीं छोटी सी चीज़ नहीं है जिसको बस कैंपस में करा या रॉन्डेवू में करा या पल्स में करा और फिर इसके बाद भूल गए। मैं उस चीज़ के बारे में इतना गंभीर हो गया कि मैंने उसको अपना जीवन ही बना लिया। और उस चीज़ को ज़मीन पर कार्यान्वित करने के लिए ही मैं यूपीएससी की ओर झुका पहले, और फिर कुछ समय में ये भी स्पष्ट हो गया कि सरकारी नौकरी, ब्यूरोक्रेटिक जॉब से वो काम मैं कर नहीं पाऊंगा जो मैं करना चाहता हूँ। जो रेजिस्टेंस मैं लाना चाहता हूँ, जिस चीज़ के प्रति मुझे विद्रोह करना है, जो बदलाव मैं देखना चाहता हूँ, वो सरकारी नौकरी में रह के होगा भी। तो अंततः फिर उसकी अभिव्यक्ति अद्वैत लाइफ एजुकेशन के माध्यम से हुई। तो अगर हम कहना चाहें तो ये भी कह सकते हैं कि जो काम मैं आज कर रहा हूँ, जो आप अभी ये बातचीत मुझसे कर रहे हैं, जो घटना ठीक अभी चल रही है, ये एक तरह से उसी श्रृंखला का हिस्सा है, उसी अनुभव का कंटिन्यूएशन है जो मुझे अरावली हॉस्टल में सब अनुभव हुए, जो चीज़ें मैंने देखी। तो उसका तो मैं सदा शुक्रगुजार रहूँगा। जब मैं थर्ड ईयर में था तो वो हॉस्टल में मैंने वहाँ पर छोटा सा जो लॉन था हमारा, वहाँ पे ऐसे एक मोटो लिखा जाता था, बड़ा बड़ा सा, वो ऊपर दीवार पे चिपकवा दिया जाता था। जो लोग अरावली के होंगे उनको याद होगा। तो उस पर मैंने लिखवा दिया था, योग्य जन जीता है, द फिटेस्ट प्रिवेल्स। तो तब मुझे बहुत स्पष्ट नहीं था कि ये फिटेस्ट माने क्या होता है, हालांकि वो बात मुझे किसी गहरे तल पर बहुत सही लगती थी और बहुत आकर्षित करती थी। आज मुझे स्पष्ट हो रहा है कि मैं वहाँ कहना क्या चाहता था, और फिट होने का, योग्य होने का वास्तविक अर्थ क्या होता है। सब में वही योग्यता जागृत हो पाए, उसी के लिए वो काम कर रहा हूँ जो आज कर रहा हूँ। और जो योग्य है, जो फिटेस्ट है, वही प्रिवेल करे, वही इस पूरे काम का उद्देश्य है। एक तरह का धर्म युद्ध ही है। द फिटेस्ट मस्ट प्रिवेल, तब लिख दिया था द फिटेस्ट प्रिवेल्स। वो बात इतनी सीधी या इतनी ऑटोमेटिक नहीं होती है कि दैट द फिटेस्ट नेसेसरीली ऑटोमेटिकली प्रिवेल्स, ऐसा होता नहीं है। उसको जिताना पड़ता है, उसको जिताने की प्रक्रिया को ही धर्म युद्ध कहते हैं। वही भगवत गीता का सार है। तो वही काम आज भी चल रहा है। तो मैं बहुत बहुत दिल से और बड़े प्रेम से अपने हॉस्टल के दिनों को याद करता हूँ। हॉस्टल से तो मैं पास आउट होने के बाद भी बहुत सालों तक जुड़ा रहा। अभी 2-3 महीने पहले ही तो आईआईटी में फिर से मिल कर के आया हूँ स्टूडेंट्स से। मेरे ख्याल से काफ़ी सारे थे, 200-250 थे। उन्होंने खुद ही लेक्चर आयोजित किया था। तो पास आउट होने के बाद भी मुझे बुलाते रहे, कभी रॉन्डेवू में ड्रामेटिक्स में जज की तरह बुला लेते थे, कभी किसी और तरीके से। तो आईआईटी से और हॉस्टल से मेरा संपर्क लगातार बना ही रहा है। और वो बात 4 साल की नहीं थी। उन 4 सालों ने मेरे आंतरिक विकास की यात्रा में मुझे बहुत मदद दी, और मैं उसके लिए हमेशा ही ऋणी रहूँगा। तो धन्यवाद अरावली।
धन्यवाद आचार्य जी। हम सभी सेम अटैचमेंट फील करते हैं, और ये पता नहीं ऐसा क्यों होता है, हालांकि अरावली से अब कनेक्ट भी छूट चुका है, बट ये कुछ अजीब सा बॉन्ड है जो हम सबको फील होता है।
और अच्छी बात।
So I think now we have come to the end of a very interesting session today. And now I would like to request our alumni, Narendra Madanji, to kindly come for the vote for thanks.
Okay, yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
People can hear?
Yeah, Madan sir, you're audible.
Okay, right. Thank you, Goel, for giving me this opportunity to say a vote of thanks. I'm N.K. Madan. I was also in the Aravali hostel, but from 1970 to 75. We are now classified as dinosaurs of the IITs. Very soon, we also will be extinct. But anyway, it was a nice, pleasant stay. I think I 100% agree with what Acharya ji said about the hostel life. I still remember a quote, when we were introduced, we had an orientation program, and one of the professor who had, a young professor, was only 29 years old, had come from US. And want to men who face any situation in life. And I think these are the true words that really inspired us to be what we are today. And to that extent, I really thank my institute. Yeah. But it's a matter of now again to extend a vote of thanks. Alumni organizing such a wonderful thing. And to the organizing team, which consists of a lot of my colleagues, Gaurav, Alok, Arun, Natasha, Sanjay, Saurabh, Pankaj, etc., etc. I hope I have not missed out anybody. A big thanks to Acharya ji and Anupam Chatterjee. Acharya ji, I think after listening to a lecture, it has raised many more questions in mind than probably what have been answered. What life should be and where we should take it and how we should, plan our life. It has opened up so many avenues which we need to explore. You mentioned about the spirituality is nothing but a freedom from your inner diseases. I think, first of all, to get the freedom, as you rightly said, we need to first of understand what are these diseases which are within us. Unfortunately, our education system only tells you just where to find your bread, how to earn that bread, how, and you talk about the children, how many children to produce, and what all you should have in your homes here. But there is a world which is much bigger and much beyond that. I think we should all aim for that. Yeah, I'll be failing if I don't thank all the participants. I think this is the first time we have reached a good number of more than 80 people. I hope all of you have enjoyed, and I will again request you to please, for our next programs, do join us once again. Thank you each and everyone, and thank you. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Madan sir.
Namaskar.
For the audience, we have a quick announcement. There is another event which is going to start where Acharya ji will be there, which is a separate event. I have been informed by Rohit. Rohit, would you like to announce it?
Yes, Gauravji.
Yeah.
Yes, Gauravji. Good evening. So after this session, we will have another session on Chandogya Upanishad. I'm sure everyone really enjoyed and liked this session and had a lot to learn. Next, we will have some more to learn on session on Chandogya Upanishad that will start after a short break in around 10 minutes. I'll share the Zoom link on chat, and everyone is welcome to join that session and ask questions on the session. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Rohitji. Thank you, Acharya ji and entire team. It was very nice event today. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.